You know, I don't know why I have a propensity to just start trashing people. I think it's an innate thing in me that I've been taught that or something. What does Xander call me? A professional antagonist. But as we always do, we have to start the show off with big SILZ. Absolutely, man. A professional antagonist. I think that's what we're called here. Oh, holy cow. No wonder Xander's in a good mood. I love it. I love it. LJ, it's hater gonna hate. It's hater time. No, unlike LJ, is it? Unlike that dude, it's called truth time. This is the only show where truth, justice, and the big SILZ way works. Unlike some of you who manipulate the truth. Like a courtroom in New York City. How you doing? Oh. Not here. Not here. Oh, and by the way, Battle Royale, 3:30. Mark Holmes, the resident cowboy honk, will be battling Big SILZ as the moderator and Philly 500. That'll be for your viewing pleasure at 3:30 Eastern time. Now, by the way, you guys have been sensational. Please do me a favor. Thank you, Prince. Let's get to 200 likes again. By the way, what you are doing with those likes, you're blowing the show up during the off season. You're blowing the show up during the off season. Thank you very much, Spin. Hey, Spin. Always do me a favor. Senor. Always do me a favor. Look, it still sucks as a moderator. You know what? You're right. I'm not a moderator. I'm Big SILZ. How you doing? I implore you to listen to other shows. I implore you to, because you'll come back. You know why? Boring. Not here. Not here. And it's the only show where your engagement counts. That's right. Nobody gets blocked here. Nobody gets blocked here. You don't get blocked here. You have a voice here. Whether you agree or disagree, I love it. Okay? Don't care what you think truth hurts. There you go. This show and chat is so damn entertaining. That was the number one priority. You almost blocked me. And Perez? No, I never did. Unless it's something absolutely over the top, we don't block people here. I've had people go after my family. I don't block you. Because you know why? Sometimes people just go a little overboard like I do. Hey, how could I block you? I want to say one thing to you guys. How can I block you when I've been known to go overboard? I'm not genuine then. Oh, I see. SILZ could be fired in the past for going overboard, but I'm going to block you? Why would I do that? I'm a hypocrite then. That's one thing I'm not. Have I lost jobs in the past? Yeah. Have I lost opportunities in the past? Yeah. Have I gone overboard? Yeah. Why would I block you then? If some of you guys go overboard. We're not hypocrites here, JAKIB, and here with Big SILZ. Me says, SILZ, do you think the Eagles are a sure favorite to win the NFC East? Yeah, but I don't believe that's going to be good enough to do anything in the playoffs. You could win that thing maybe 8-9. That's not really a lot to say, me. Cowboys aren't going to be good. Washington's going to be improved, but to what extent? I think the Giants are a complete shit show right now. They're better on defense. I mean, and you have done no improvement on defense yourselves. You've moved some money around and you added one guy. Well, wait a minute. What about the draft picks? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. May 29th? Sills, how do you think that Quinyon Mitchell's going to do? I have no idea. I don't know if he's going to even make as a pro yet. I have no idea. First round guys bomb all the time. You're a professional football franchise on knowing guys that have failed, especially on defense. I mean, you're a professional football team that actually is professional at failures on defense. So, I mean, what would make you think Quinyon Mitchell's going to be any different than Nakobe Dean or some of the corners that you drafted in the past? Why would you think any different? So, here on May 29th, let's see if they buck the trends. Let's see if they buck the trends. But Sills, our DB room is very good. You don't know that yet. That's right. Okay, Flexen said something cool. I'm praying. All right. Hey, I'm praying and hoping. Nothing wrong with that. On May 29th, if somebody comes out to me and says this, hey, Sills, I'm hoping that these guys turn out to be really great players. Absolutely fantastic and true. Sills tells Howie to draft SEC guys and hates SEC Dean. I told you to draft SEC guys, but not that are in the tub, and drafting guys that are injured. When you drafted him, he was injured. It's like I told the Magic when they signed Grant Hill to that $94 million deal back in the day. Why would you sign a guy who's injured? He ended up playing only 29% of the games for the Magic on that contract. You don't sign injured players. Had a history of being hurt. By the way, yes, take swings at SEC guys. No question. No question. Absolutely. I don't know anything, neither does anyone else. Right. So when you say you have a great DB room, you've got to go with what you have in the room now. I don't know. That's a question mark. We're all playing the guessing game, Sills. How about we compare each position now compared to last year? That's a great one. I like that. But then again, you're going to have more question marks. Do this. Okay, Bradbury and Slay. Let's just do this off the top of our head here with just starting at the corner position. What would make you think you're better than you were a year ago? You're less experienced with more unknowns and an older Slay. How do you know, Forrest, if you're better? Because you're putting your faith in the hands of Howie Roseman at corner, who has been a disaster. Of all the positions that he's drafted, cornerback has been his worst. You know, he's drafted 36 defensive backs, and you can't name one that's good. You can't name one that's good. Bradbury isn't a starter this year. That's the point. You're starting a guy who's never played a down. And like Xander said, well, if he comes out and plays like Sauce Gardner, okay, that's great optimism. That's a pretty high bar for a guy you're hoping to strike, again, some gold with a guy not from a Power 5. How many times has that panned out? I mean, the most critical position on the defense right now, there's two of them really. Edge rushers and corners. How do you know what you have? But the schedule is easier. Hey, Sean, the schedule has nothing to do with hard or easier. If your defense sucks, you're losing games like you did a year ago, no matter what. It doesn't matter. You lost to Drew Lock. And if you haven't improved, you'll still lose to players like Drew Lock. But again, I said this yesterday when we were going over the team. I said it again. You're not as good as last year's roster. However, you have more upside on potentially being better. You have more upside than you did in the 23 roster, but you're not better. You lost. Hey, watch this one here. You lost 18 sacks from last year's team. Where are you getting them from? Tell me who you're getting those 18 sacks. 7 sacks from Fletcher and 11 from Hassan Reddick. Where are you getting those from? Tell me. You're hoping Bryce Huff. And who else? Nolan Smith? How do you know who those players are? White is not going to blitz. Fangio doesn't blitz. How and where are you getting those 18 sacks that you lost? Wait a minute, Mike. Carter was on the team last year. You lost 18 sacks off of last year's talented people with Fletcher Cox. Hunt, that's a question mark. Smith and Huff, those are question marks. I gave you facts. Facts. 18 sacks are not on your team. Could, maybe, if, but we're hoping. That's not a strategy. Carter will have 15 sacks. Again, you're hoping. You're hoping. So when you say that, you have nothing to stand on but hope. That's okay. I'm not really ripping you guys over that. Okay, I'm not. Carter has 10. What's this? Carter will have 10 and so will Sweat. Again, wishful thinking, optimism. Here on May 29th, fabulous. Can't be ripped for that, Mike. But how many times has Josh Sweat had double-digit sacks in his career in Philly? Like once? Watch some film. You're just talking? What are you talking about? Watch what film? Nolan Smith? I'll have to YouTube it. Who else? What are you talking about? Almost 2 times in a row. Almost 2 times in a row. 18. Josh Sweat was on the team a year ago. Again, those players, dude, you have to already replace 20 sacks. That means Nolan Smith and who else? Shit, man. Someone else other than Huff has to come up with another, because Huff has to cover for Reddick. just to make it even. Guys, listen, we lost 18 sacks. That wasn't good enough last year. We need more than 18 sacks. Simple. Dual threat. Where are you getting that from? Milton Williams? I like him. Hey, if I were to put a prediction on the front four, front three, front five for the Eagles, I say Josh Sweat because he's not going to be a starter, and I do think he's going to play a lot. 6. Jalen Carter, 8. Jordan Davis, 3. Milton Williams, 7. Huff, 7. Nolan Smith, I don't know. I don't know. Who the fuck is Gabe Hall? Who's Gabe Hall? I will sacrifice a few sacks for better coverage, but that's where you get better coverage from. It's pressure on the QB. That's where you get better coverage. Hey, let me put it to you this way, dual threat. The reason why you guys had poor safety play last year is because of one thing. Okay? You didn't get enough pressure on the quarterback. You didn't get any pressure on the quarterback. And the routes developed more. Better tackling? Where? From who? You were one of the worst tackling football teams in the National Football League last year. Okay? By the way, before we get going, thought it was interesting. Once again, national shade on Jalen Hurts by Colin Cowherd this time. Eagles have better personnel in the secondary, but their pass rush is worse, and the secondary will suffer for it. The run defense will be really bad. I want to wait and see on the really bad on the run game. I want to see the impact Davis has when it comes to him playing a true nose position. I wouldn't say that. So what did he say? Quarterbacks that would definitely be traded if there was the right deal for somebody to pick the phone up and call Howie Roseman. He had a list of quarterbacks that were untouchable. Josh Allen, of course, is one of those. And Patrick Mahomes and Burrow and those kind of players are like untouchable. He also put out there a list and a tier of quarterbacks that if the right price was there, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, Russell Wilson, Tagovailoa, Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers. Those are organizations that would pick up the phone if the deal was right, and they would listen to trade offers. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. That's a national Fox, and the Super Bowl's on Fox this year. Show saying, hey, if the deal was right, the Eagles would listen on a trade. Wow. So you don't have an untouchable quarterback. Interesting. The national media guys look at your quarterback as potentially, hey, if the deal was right, Howie would make the move. He's not an untouchable quarterback. And you're paying that guy $50 million. These are Colin Cowherd's words. Said the Eagles would listen. Now, I don't think he's taken into cap situations and all that other stuff. But I didn't say that. That was on the herd today. Yeah, well, the Eagles are one of the teams that if a proper deal came across Howie Roseman's desk, he would listen. An untouchable quarterback ain't in Philly. Allen's one of them. Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar. Those guys are untouchable quarterbacks. Your guy? If the deal was right, 2 Skittles and $100,000 bar, ready to roll. Yeah. Imagine that. That's how the national people think of you, dude. And think of Hurts. They don't think of him as any elite guy. They think he's a guy that could be moved if the deal was right. Run D is more than having IT, is it? One T, they'll run at the DEs. I'm going to be very interested to see how Milton Williams plays out there on that 5 technique. Okay? Facts, Big SILZ. Eagles were in the bottom in so many areas on defense last year. You get this too, Forrest. You know what's crazy? How in the world do people have amnesia that defense got resolved and it was turned around when, like Xander said yesterday, you can't even ask the fucking question, what happened in the Reddick deal in Philly? How embarrassing to the Philadelphia sports media that you can't eat. Let me show you how much of a bunch of it's gone what it used to be. Philly media were mother you-know-whatters. So you can't ask a question to the general manager of the Eagles any longer about a simple deal for a defensive end that you got dick in return for. And you know what you can't do? If you're WIP, the flagship station of the Eagles, not one host has addressed not what I said here on the show about the DeSean Jackson story. DeSean Jackson himself, they won't address. That's a Hall of Fame Eagle. Why? Not one host has the balls to go on the air and confront that guy. Why? It's nothing personal, dude. Deshaun Watson wants an apology for you being a guy who put a story out that cost him his career in Philly. Is there anything wrong with that question, too? If he says, and he comes back at the host, the afternoon guys or the midday guys or the morning guys, and they come back at him and going, I didn't feel I cost him this job. I got this story from the Eagles themselves and other people, and there were people in Chip Kelly's organization of the coaching staff that gave me this. What? Okay, I believe that. Why can't you address it? Because you have no balls and you're afraid of the propaganda machine known as the Philadelphia Eagles. You're afraid of them. That's why I've got no allegiance or ties to them. I'll say whatever the fuck I want to say. And if you don't like it, that's too damn bad. And that's why most of the time they don't. They want to filter on me. That ain't happening. They want to filter on this network. That ain't happening. They are doing everything possible to turn this thing off. Ain't happening. You know why? Because you guys are making it happen. Can you imagine me on the air at IP and that guy ESP, Elliot Spitzer Shore Parks, comes on my show? I'm not going to ask him, hey, DeSean Jackson wants you to apologize for costing him his Eagle job and for smearing his name. What's your take on that? You can't even ask that? Could you imagine me, Xander, putting that guy on? My first question would be that. My first question would be that. Hey, dude, DeSean wants an apology. How come you're not addressing it in any of your trillion posts and no host on the air is questioning it? You know why? Because Bob Lang told him not to. Now you know the truth. Bob Lang told him not to. By the way, That's a big SILZ opinion. And if you want to run a little bottom line asterisk like they do on ESPN for Pat McAfee, have at it. Have at it. What happened to the media in Philly? I'll tell you something. John McMullen, our very own, one of the better guys. John's got an opinion on Barkley. He ain't afraid to say it. John's got an opinion on Hassan Reddick. He's not afraid to say it. I may disagree with some of the shit he says. But I'll tell you what, a lot of the stuff he says comes from a place that he's been following and covering the team. And that's an opinion you respect because he's in the room with him. I may disagree, but that's how he views it. I'm not going to change that, and I don't want to. It's not my job to. But they want to try to change my takes by having me not say anything. Why won't the Philadelphia Eagles, why won't the Eagles even address that? Some go SILZ, you know. By the way, DeSean Jackson's the one that brought this back. Wasn't anybody on this network or even the local radio stations. DeSean brought it back. Didn't he bring it back with Shady? They did like a podcast, right? And they brought it. Him and Shady were the ones that brought this back, right? Am I wrong when I say that? Crazy. You can't ask a question in the Philly media any longer. And constantly the players have to walk shit back, they say, on game day after the game on a Wednesday when the players are back in the building at the NovaCare Center. That's called walk back day. That's walk back day. Coaches, players, clarified day, or whatever you want to call it. It's called walk back day. Imagine that. You can't ask a question to the general manager because he gets his panties in a bind, and the glorified CPA can't handle it. Okay? He can't handle it. Well, I think you're misinformed. No, it's a question, dude. You're questioning my question now. When he does that and he says you don't have all the facts, that's why the fucking question was asked, because that reporter wants you to tell him the facts. But instead, you give him a lawyer's answer. How he answers you like a lawyer. And then they turn it on you, and then Bob's on you like a wolf. Dude, that's not a way to cover a team any longer. But because we're in today's landscape where these professional sports teams have say in who's on the air now and content, they get to run, they get away with murder. That's why those shows suck today. They're unlistenable. Those shows are unlistenable. The days of doing sports talk is over when you're on the radio. It's over. Why would Howie tell a reporter what went on with a former player? All you're asking is, what led to the Hassan Reddick deal? And he went on his diatribe. Gossip. Here's what Ty just said I'm gossiping about. Not one host on WIP has addressed ESP and the request by DeSean Jackson and Shady McCoy for an apology for what that hatchet job story was in NJ.com that he wrote. Now he's a clubhouse reporter for Odyssey and WIP. Not one fucking host has addressed it. I'm asking for Shady. Wait a minute. I'm asking for DeSean. You guys love DeSean, don't you? Get on my shit all the time. By the way, Ty goes, that was 10 years ago. I didn't bring it up, dude. DeSean Jackson did. If one of your legendary players brings something up, don't you want them to get it answered? Or no? Or put your head in the sand like an ostrich? Ask yourself. Dude, Raj goes, I know he's hiding from answering questions. Hey, dude, get this. Just ask one. Hey, Big SILZ, can we talk about the tiny? We're going to get into all that. We forgave? Dude, the fans are over it. No question. DeSean Jackson's not. I thought that you cared about that guy. Every time I bring something up like that, you get on my shit about it. Get this. Look, I'll address all he does is just he addresses nothing except talking about me. Whatever that is, fine. It's okay. I don't really care. But he goes, that was 10 years ago. Oh, I know. But at the end of the day, DeSean Jackson asked it 3 weeks ago. That's all. I just wanted to know if someone would answer DeSean Jackson. Obviously, it still bugs him. It doesn't bug the Eagles enough. And it doesn't bug WIP enough. Imagine that. Odyssey has the nuggets to talk shit on me, and you leave a guy like that in that building. That rubs me so bad. You'll make up all kinds of fucking stories about me. Odyssey. All kinds of stories about me. Lies. And you'll keep that guy in the building who cost that guy his job? I have no respect for you. Zero. I am so happy they're in bankruptcy. If any company deserves it, it's them. World's not run on WIP and WFAN. You see the rest of those shitty markets? Jeff Salilano, guess what? You've run that company in the ground. Your programming is horrible. Between you and Mark Chernoff, I don't know who sucked more. All right. Let's move on. More players are now coming out of the woodworks on your defensive coordinator. No, RTF, I don't hate WIP. I hate the people that run I don't hate radio. I love radio. I did it for 32 years. I hate the people that are in it running it now because they hide under their desk. They're uncool. They're liars. Anglers. They manipulate everyone and pay nobody. Okay. So more people are coming out of the woodworks now when it comes to Vic Fangio. Cam Smith says, and I quote, "It's like I'm free now." And he now goes down the list of Javon Harlan, I believe, Xavier Howard, Jalen Ramsey, couple linebackers, all people that played on that defense and said the guy's defense was outdated and he wasn't very good. He put us all in a box and basically said, now I'm free. And I'm looking forward to this year because last year I didn't get any opportunities because Vic really didn't know how to use any of us. Is that a concern? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players now out of 11 on defense have come out and said that Vic Fangio, one said he was a horrible man. One said his defenses was outdated. Another player is saying that his schemes confused us and he did not know how to talk to us, according to Jalen Ramsey. I mean, is that a concern? You got 5 players now coming out and saying it's all hearsay. No, hearsay is not. That's not hearsay when it comes from players' mouths. And they didn't really have that bad a year, and they hated the guy. They hated the way he coached. They hated his attitude. Even Mike McDaniel goes, I think it's best we part ways. It's all good. Dolphins never fought that. He signed a 3-year contract in Miami. They didn't fight it. If he was so good, wouldn't they have fought if he was the best defensive coordinator? He was the highest paid coordinator a year ago. Why didn't the Dolphins fight for him? Kansas City fought for Spagnuolo. Remember when San Francisco, what was said? How many teams went after Steve Spagnuolo this past offseason? 6? That's why they gave him a contract extension and more money. 6 teams went after Steve Spagnuolo. You know what Kansas City did? They went like this. No. They're paying him as much as some lower-tiered NFL head coaches right now. I think he's making like $6 million a year, $5 million a year. I think Sirianni makes 6. This guy makes as much as your head coach. How come the Dolphins didn't fight for him? Hey, by the way, I'm just asking a question here. If the Dolphins thought he was so good, why did the Dolphin organization fight for him? He was still under contract. They didn't have to release him from his deal. Shit, they could have kept him on his deal and sat him to the side, hired another coordinator to keep him away from Philly, but they didn't. Why? I'm not asking you whether you're going to be fine or not. I'm asking you, why did the Dolphins not fight for that guy if he's so good? And the players are going after him, saying that it was a horrible environment last year. If you put everything into a conversation here, the Miami Dolphin defensive players thought last year's coordinator had an uncomfortable environment in the building. And so did the head coach think that. So did the organization think that. They didn't go after him. They let him go. Why? Eagle Golden Era. Jalen Carter loves Fangio. How do you know that? You haven't played for him yet. You're in helmets and shorts, asshole. How do you know that? You're going by helmets and shorts that they like him in 3 practices? What a stupid comment. Hey, I met my boss for 3 days. He's one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. Wow. You're easily snowed. Doesn't it take a little time for you to say, this guy's one of the quality people I've ever met in my life? Hey, first day, I love the guy. He's one of the greatest coaches I've ever been around. In helmets and shorts? How about waiting until you're in the Cowboy game, guy? And seeing if he schemes something up on you here. I mean, those are stupid comments from Jalen Carter. Stupid. He's a great guy. How do you know that? You haven't been in the fire with him yet. You're in practice walking and running over bags. Now, by the way, I'm not telling you I'm siding with Miami here, but there's quite a few guys and an organization who didn't care that he left. And he was the highest paid guy. And most coordinators that are great, Raheem Morris wasn't going to leave the Rams for another coordinating job. He was going to leave the Rams for a head coaching job, and that's what happened in Atlanta for him. Hey, and I've been touting the last couple days fans. I've been saying good things about him. The way he talks, the way he – hey, I'm going to tell you, there's no doubt I could see how these guys today and today's younger players wouldn't like him. Oh, I could – he reminds me of a coach that coach – did Dave wants that coach like that? Kind of. They didn't really give a shit. The coaches that had me in Miami and the coaches that had me in Dallas, or the coaches that went on to win the Super Bowl, they coached a lot like Vic. They didn't care who you were. They didn't give a shit. Best guy plays. I don't know you can do that today. You know why? Because the analytics department is involved. That's why they want all these younger guys. Vic might be too old for the system and style of coaching that Philly's looking for. You got a lot of question marks here. By the way, I'm not defending the Dolphins here. The scheme was new to them, but we have been running the scheme for the last 4 years. People will reset and change regardless of the line of work. Hey, Prince, I'm not defending them. I'm just asking a question about why did Miami not have any kind of problems with him moving on, and every player in that building says it was a horrible, and I'm paraphrasing that, a horrible experience with Vic. They're a soft organization? Well, I'll tell you what, your ending to your season didn't look very hardcore. I mean, the ending to your season didn't look very hardcore. 5 players on defense. There are 11 guys that start, you know. They wanted a McDaniel for the defense, but Fangio was a hard ass. Carlos, I think there's something to what you're saying there. Soft with McDaniels, pink, that's irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. I get hey, so the first thing you go to is how eccentric he is? I don't know. That's not something I go to. I want to know, is he a good coach? I don't give a shit about the Hello Kitty backpack. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. Hey, Prince, I'm telling you, Prince, I'm not defending the Dolphins here. I'm just asking you a point. The entire organization seems hated him. From the head coach, owner, general manager, Chris Greer on down. Do you think that's a problem? Yes or no? Again, I've been saying great things about Vic Fangio the last couple of days. Hey, Xander, have I not? Dolphins haven't been relevant in how long? What's that got to do with Vic Fangio? Has he been relevant? It is possible he could be outdated, but his coaching staff is capable of communicating his objectives. It's a great take, Pickin. That's a great take. Clint Hurt and them guys are younger. It's a great take. He may have an old school mentality and an old school scheme, but young position coaches connecting with the younger players, it's brilliant, actually. And that's pretty much what you got on the Eagles staff this year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You're going to have a really great coaching staff that's young on that side of the ball. If you've got a 70-year-old defensive coordinator, you can't have 60-year-old position coaches because that ain't going to work with 22-year-old guys in today's game. That's just not going to work, and that's what probably happened in Miami. He hired some of his older guys, and that Miami thing fell to pieces. I'm not defending shit here. You can make anything you want out of it. I'm not defending anything. I'm just saying you got a bunch of people in Miami. Hey, once again, too, when I'm making a comment about Miami players and coaches and an organization talking shit about your new DC, how in the fuck is that my problem or on me or anything to do with me? What's that got to do with me? Nothing. It's not part of the conversation here. I am not part of the conversation. Why is it that the Dolphins wanted him out? Why? Seems to me it's guys who don't like playing zone. That's a great take too, Slagger. Ramsey's a cover corner and he's a press corner. He's a press corner. Carter said he talked to Miami players. They said he liked them. Well, that's not what's being reported now and guys with quotes coming out. That's untrue. I could give you 5, 6 guys that have come out, and the Miami guys are all saying on the side of the defense that the guy was not a person that communicated well. That's not true. I can get quote after quote from Ramsey, from Howard, from Holland, from Smith. Shit, you can even get it from Mike McDaniels himself. There was a communication issue. What are you talking about? People have different opinions. I don't give a shit about people. I care about players. Coming out publicly saying that Vic Fangio was outdated and it was not comfortable to be around him. Is that a problem in Philly? Why is that not going to be a problem for you? Give me one reason why it'll be different in Philly than it was in Miami for him. By the way, every time that Dolphin defense played against physical teams, they were destroyed. Shit, they were destroyed by the Eagles and Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson destroyed Vic Fangio last year. Destroyed him. Are you trying to tell me Vic's a better coach than Brian? Now, some of you are going to go, well, the Dolphin organization's soft. Sean Desai destroyed Mike McDaniel too. They have soft personnel mentality. We have better personnel than Miami, M. Reyes says. You do not on defense. Only major difference I see is that he gets full autonomy on Mike McDaniel was up him. If Nick even critiques Vic, Howie and Laurie will take away more responsibilities than they already have. I think that was part of, remember what I told you, Anthony? I thought that was part of the requirement for him leaving Miami, that he would have complete autonomy over that defense and the hirings of assistant coaches. And I don't really think they got a problem with that. Our players don't have the organization and whine about the coaches. They can't. They're not allowed to. Or you're Hassan Reddick. CM Reyes, what he just said, is exactly what's the problem in your locker room. When a guy like Reddick does say something, he's shipped out of town. That's why. Right. Or you're a coach like Doug. You're shipped out of town if you say anything against the Almighties. Okay? Because you said Miami was soft. Miami is soft. I'm not defending them, dude. I'm asking you why they're saying it, and the Dolphins didn't support them. Stop making this about me. Why did the Dolphins not fight for the best so-called coordinator? And why are the players, a majority of them, are saying he's outdated and he's a very uncomfortable coach to play for? It's not anything to do with me. These are the players' voices. Try to focus here. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm asking you the question on what they're, and again, I'm telling you, I've been saying good things about the guy. And here we go again. Sean goes, Jalen Carter doesn't seem to have a problem with it. How the fuck would he know? He's only been around him 2 days, 3 days. How would he know? He's been on a practice field with the guy for 3 days. How would he possibly know that? How would he know that? Hey, Steve goes, nobody here cares. Clearly, next topic. Last year, I brought up the fact that Sean Desai and Brian Johnson were training wheel coordinators. You guys kept telling me that, hey, that's Jalen's best friend, and Desai, who had a great reputation. By the way, I think Sean Desai was wrongfully terminated. He was 10-2. And he had beaten all those great teams with that defense. And when they put Patricia in, that's when you lost home field in the East. Wasn't Sean Desai's fault. That was not Sean Desai's fault. He had beaten Mahomes. He had beaten Allen. He had beaten Stafford. He had beaten Cousins. He had beaten Mayfield. He had beaten all those guys. Dak Prescott. Then you fired him. I didn't think Sean Desai did that bad a job at 10-2. Think of how many great offense. He stopped Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City with Travis Kelce and Chris Jones on the field. So there's no excuses. They beat him. Who are the coordinators again? I like how you guys segment the season. You really do. The back end of the season is a team thing, and you blame the coordinators. But the front end of the 10-2, how do you notice that, Xander? The back end is coaching and the bad coaches that were on and the bad coordinators you had. But the front end, the 10-2, only Hurts gets credit for that, not the coordinators. Is that right? So wait, you went from really great coaching to really poor coaching and really great quarterback play to really bad coaching problems. And that's the excuses you give for Jalen, right? Don't those coaches get credit for being 10-2? No? Or it's just another bag of excuses for a guy in Jalen Hurts? Really? Talk about talking out of both sides of your ass. No, that's incorrect. I'm saying it's coaching the whole time. So when they were beating all those good teams, Prince, and Sean Desai was beating all those quarterbacks like Tua, Dak, Allen, Mahomes, Stafford, that's bad coaching. Is that what you're saying, Prince? That's bad coaching. Beating Tua, Allen, Mahomes, Stafford, that's bad coaching. Oh, you have talented players. But then when the thing fell apart, those talented players What was it? Then it was all on the coaches. Holy shit. Oh, yeah, that's right. Desai also beat McVay. So wait a minute. Jalen gets all the credit for 10-2, but not the really good coaching that went on to. What about Desai? He had nothing to do with Hurts in the offense. He stopped all those quarterbacks. But the back end, it was all coordinators. How, and get this, that guy goes like this. He goes, hey, Vic's okay. And Vic Fangio was one of the coaches that they crushed. How dumb and the excuse-ridden excuses you come up for your team, and you really think that was all coordinators last year? When Desai had arguably one of the best would we not say this? Got to be some smart folks in here. Would we not say this? Sean Desai, all the way up until the 10-2, had a phenomenal year. Look at all the superstar $50 million quarterbacks he beat. So wait a minute. The Patricia move, he loses to Tyrod Taylor and Drew Lock. The guy who was in the building, though, was beating Mahomes and Allen and Stafford. And you fired that guy. How do you know the Eagles are a really good judge of character when it comes to coaching and coaching moves? Look at the absolute difference you have. And just in coordinators alone when Doug was in the building. And you refuse to answer the question. You refuse. Is this a problem for you? That a ton of the players on defense in Miami, the organization didn't care if he left. They wanted him to leave. So you basically had a guy that Miami wanted out as your coordinator on defense. And Kellen Moore was fired in LA. Now, that's a different situation, kind of, because Harbaugh wanted to be the play caller. So we kind of get that. So both your coordinators were pushed out of their previous jobs. Is that correct? Desai kept teams out of the end zone after turnovers. Hey, Sean, do we agree? 49ers went through a bad stretch last year, too. Kansas City went through a bad stretch for about 2 months, right? Losing to the Raiders at Arrowhead. They didn't make drastic decisions. What happened? Well, let's be on that, because no one's going to answer that question as well. So nobody in here, get this. We've been on an hour, no one will answer it. You have no problem with two coordinators, mostly Vic, had an awful experience in Miami with his players. And the team wanted him out. Didn't fight for the last 2 years. Most of the time, organizations, you know what they'll do? They'll file a tampering charge against an organization for lateral moves. You see, you got to understand something. That's a lateral move. He wasn't being interviewed for the head coaching job in Philly. That was a lateral move. And lateral moves are not accepted, especially when you're under contract. The Dolphins didn't even fire a tampering charge. Like, you don't really think you can call a coach, that guy Slowick. You don't really think you can call Houston and go, hey, I'd like to interview your offensive coordinator to be my offensive coordinator in Philly. You don't really think you can't do that. That's against NFL rules when it comes to lateral moves in coaching. You can't do that. I have a problem with coaching on both sides of the ball. Well, I don't know if it's a problem yet. Coordinators can't coordinate if they can't communicate. DeSean Johnson both had damning. Hey, listen. Sean Desai has a great resume from a year ago. Has a great resume. And by the way, once again, this conversation has nothing to do with me. It's got everything to do with your new coordinator that's been hired on defense. Nothing to do with me. I'm in no shape or form part of the conversation, except asking questions. Nothing. I never played for Vic. I never played in the Dolphins. All I'm hearing is players commenting. Michael goes, Sean Desai's resume sucks. Beating 10-2, beating Mahomes. Here's where you go with Michael Wiggins here. He beat Mahomes, Allen, Dak, Tua, Stafford, Mayfield. Outcoached McVay. That's a horrible resume? Really? And Vic lost to Brian Johnson. Lucky's one time when you pull the lever down and you land on 4 aces. Not when you beat 6 top flight quarterbacks. That's not luck. That's fact. Oh, I know. 10-2's Jalen, back end's coaching. How pathetic. And how unrealistic. And nobody has that thought process. Nobody. Players quit. Plain and simple. Including your quarterback. They quit. Plain and simple. No way around it. When the hell is it the player's fault? Don't blame coaches for the players can draw up the perfect play. If the players don't execute, absolutely. It's like blaming a hitting coach on a baseball team for a guy in a slump. And you fire the hitting instructor. You can't be more asinine than that kind of job. One of the worst jobs on the planet is being a hitting coach for a baseball team. He's the first guy to go when a guy like Bryce Harper is in an 0 for 25 slump. How's that his fault? He don't go to the plate. What are you possibly going to suggest to Bryce Harper, who's been in the league as many years and the MVP awards that he's won? What are you going to possibly tell him? What can you possibly tell a guy like that? By the way, the Miami Dolphin guys are the ones bringing this up. I'm not. I didn't bring this up. Miami Dolphin players are. I feel free. What's that mean? Get this. I didn't bring this up. Stevens goes, Desai has upgraded with the Rams. Hey, Stevens, great coach like Sean McVay, hiring Sean Desai. What a great move for him. Now you're around a head coach who's actually great. Think about where Sean Desai is. He's around a guy who's actually a head coach. and knows what he's doing. And they won't have knee-jerk reactions in that building with Les Snead and Kevin Demoff. Since Sean McVay has been in that building, they've been the best team in the NFC. And they have been the best team in the NFC since McVay has been the head coach in Los Angeles. That's not an opinion. They've won 2 NFC championships, and they've won a Super Bowl since he's been the head coach in Los Angeles. Postseason record's been amazing. We let the Commanders drop 35 points on us. 2 twice under the side. Did you win? Nick, did you win those games? Nick, did you win? Nick, did you win? Were you 2-0 last year versus the Commanders? Yes or no? Did you win those games, Nick? Yes or no? Man, how looked like Josh Allen? Well, if you had better players, especially in your secondary. Yeah. Dude, you didn't have very good players in your defense last year. You let TJ Edwards walk. You let Kaiser White walk. And you thought you were just going to replace him with cardboard figures. And it affected your defense. They were terrible. You took a guy who had 160 tackles a year ago off the field and another guy who had 120. That's 380 tackles off the field last year. And you thought you were just going to magically – you couldn't replace Kaiser White. Well, how about when DeSean stopped that shitty Dolphins team? And the high-powered Miami Dolphins. So guess what you've done in the last 2 years on your defensive side of the football? You let 11 sacks walk out the building, and you let 160 tackles walk out the building. Justify that to me right now. Can you? Can you justify that? Howie, Bob, can you justify letting a guy with 100, I wouldn't even add Kaiser, I'll just do this. 160 tackles you let walk out the building the year previous, and this couple months ago, you let Hassan Reddick walk out the building with 11 sacks and 27 in the last 2 years. Why? And you replaced them with thrown away free agents and draft picks. Why? And you're hoping to be, as I said to Xander yesterday, decent. Senor, it's annoying how DeSean prevailed in such a bad culture. Nick is to blame for the Eagles' offensive imploding. Completely agree with you, Senor. It's not DeSean's fault the whole team was not strong the last whole season. Amen, brother. 1,000% behind you with that take. All those coordinators were a casualty of the ineptness of decision-making and the poor decision-making by the end of the year. And it falls at the feet of the head coach. Absolutely. That was not Sean Desai or Brian Johnson's fault. It was the meddling of the front office and everyone involved in it. Has that been rectified? I don't know. Not when you hear people in Miami saying Vic was a horror show. Who's in charge of the offseason programs? Because whoever is in charge did not prepare the players for a 17-game season. It was your head coach. That's why I really do believe that these coordinators have more say in these OTAs. They even added a couple more. They have a mandatory minicamp now. There seems to be more of a focus on that process, more of a preparation for it. By the way, once again, I want to walk back here a little bit. I'm not defending Miami. I'm asking you what you thought of it. I am not defending it. What in the world, Dick Train, does Lamar Jackson have to do with coaches in Miami talking shit on your coordinator and the Dolphins not giving a shit if he left? What in the world does that have to do with anything? He's won 2 MVPs by the time he's 26. And he's in the AFC. What does that have to do with anything? You're not actually comparing Lamar Jackson to Jalen Hurts, are you? This guy doesn't finish second. He finishes first. Good night. Are you crazy? He's the youngest player in pro football history to win 2 MVP awards before the age of 26. Good grief. You're really not talking like that, are you? Slager goes, Lamar was sure good in the playoffs. I know, losing that AFC title game to Mahomes, man, that was really awful for him to have done that. You losing to Mayfield puts a dead guy's 2-3 postseason record also. At least he loses to somebody. You lose to nobody. All right, I'm going to take a time out here. We are going to have Battle Royale. And we are going to have Mark Holmes, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea if Mark's coming on. I know Philly 500 is. Okay? I don't know. Xander, where are we in the hit total right now? If you could tell me. Hey, man, I don't know. I hope he shows up. I really do. Where are we in the likes here? 83. Guys, let's push on the gamut here, man. Appreciate it. We're trying to get to 200. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Mark Holmes, Big SILZ, Philly 500. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.